Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Group Chat. We are reporting live from a crisis zone that is the American financial system.
It's collapsing.
It's collapsing. I mean, we got updates. We left you. We were like, hey, the American financial system could collapse. And here we are watching the dominoes fall. Just kidding. Looks like we're going to be all right, but we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about everything that happened in the last 48 hours. It's been absolutely nuts. We have our good friend and friend of the pod, Zach White, here to shed some light on what he's seeing and join in on the conversation. I mean, I feel like we're all still a little like shell shocked here. Like, and also like we want to celebrate, but we don't even know if we're like totally safe. Like we're just kind of in this weird zone, but we're going to talk about it.
Let's do it.
No one can even talk.
It's just
I'm just so tired.
Yeah, just the shell shock.
Everyone needs.
I'm glad I just have a bank account.
Oh my god! All right, let's get into it.
Can sponsor this.
Here we go.
Cash.
Ladies and gentlemen, Group Chat.
Cash.
It's $1 trillion. Hot.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Here we are. I mean, I feel like 2 months has passed since we recorded on Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, holy shit.
Couple lifetimes.
A lot went down. Yeah, a couple lifetimes. I mean, so just to, I guess maybe if anyone missed our Thursday episode or whatever, just to kind of catch up to speed, we brought up this Silicon Valley Bank issue on Thursday. But I think on Thursday, I mean, when you guys said it, I hadn't even heard of it yet because I wasn't even paying any attention. And then we talked about it and we kind of talked like all these hypotheticals and we talked could be a run on the bank could fail. No, somebody will probably bail them out. We just kind of had this whole like hypothetical. I think our tone, I would say, was sort of, this is very, very serious, but nothing had really happened yet. And then feels like, go ahead. What are you saying?
No, saying we recorded at like 1:30 p.m. on Thursday.
Yeah.
And things transpired so quickly.
Yeah.
By the morning, it was learned that 42 billion of the 200 billion in deposits had been withdrawn before that 1:30 p.m. pod. Obviously, we didn't know till afterwards, and the government stepped in and took over the bank.
That was Friday,
like
that
10
was right
a.m.
after.
Yeah, 10 a.m.
So basically, what happened was, since we wake up Friday morning, everyone realizes that there's this run on this bank, and props to the Fed, because I have a lot of criticism that we'll get into. They just stepped in and said we're taking over, and let's stop the bleeding and let's just figure this out. And I think they probably spent all night trying to find a buyer, and there was no buyer, and they were like, let's just like stop this right now and figure this out, because all the regional banks started getting crushed Friday morning.
So yeah, they halted the SVB stock. I think it was down like 80% at the time. All the regionals like PacWest and Signature and First Republic were also down mega. The thing that like really escalated everything at the end of the day was just sheer panic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, like, to me is really the theme of what's happened all weekend, is that one, I'm actually going to exclude myself. Everyone else is a bunch of pussies. And I'll tell you, I bank with SVB. And God damn it, I didn't take $1 out. I didn't take one fucking dollar out because I have faith in USA. And so here's the thing. People, Thursday morning, I'm on a lot of email threads with a lot of founders and a lot of investors. 6:30 a.m. The amount of people that were spreading panic was insane. And I was talking to Zach, I was talking to An in here, and I was like,
I told you at 9:30, get your money out.
And
why didn't you take America. Your money out?
I'll tell you exactly, just to be transparent, like,
do we need to explain it? Because this is what's interesting. It's almost like an echo chamber, like Silicon Valley Bank.
Nobody knows what's going on.
And only people
what was
that
funny
follow
is,
tech.
I'll tell you a funnier story. I was my family and I, we went to Larchmont, which is, a little street in Hollywood, to pick something up from the store. We went there and we took Melrose back because the Oscars are happening. So we live near Sunset Hollywood area. Yep. Couldn't take those streets. It was too traffic. So we take Melrose back. And I'm seeing people come out of Cool Kicks and every store and the street's packed and everyone's shopping. And I'm like, you motherfuckers don't know how close we are to complete financial decimation.
You know what's funny is I watched Big Short last night.
You know what I watched Friday night?
I was going to do that too.
Margin call?
No, I watched Wall Street Money Never Sleeps.
Nice.
That was my Friday night. I was like, I'm so depressed. What would just put me in like a coma?
Yeah.
Like where I'm just like, the life's over. And then I was like, Gordon Gekko.
So I was out last night and it was a little bit like that meme where the guy's in the corner and it's like a party happening and it's like the stick figures and they're like, nobody knows that Silicon Valley Bank is about to collapse.
Because here's the gravity of the situation, which is like, I think lost and probably going to be still lost tomorrow when people wake up. So Silicon Valley Bank was the 15th, 16th biggest bank in the US. And what happened was, blame it on Twitter, blame it on VC firms. They caused a run on the bank. Mm-hmm. And basically, as of Friday morning, the FDIC said that money beyond $250,000 may or may not be insured. So 96% of the $200 billion that was in Silicon Valley Bank was technically uninsured because you have VC-backed companies, you have biotech companies. So it's all these companies that are like very well funded. So basically what that indicated to America was that if you're not in one of those top four banks, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Citi, Wells, you're out to lunch.
Yeah.
So there was a potential, and like take tech out of it. Tech was just kind of the canary in the coal mine. It was basically, we were going to wake up Monday morning, and if you were in a regional bank and you have more than 250,000, how can you responsibly keep it there?
Yeah.
So if you're the owner of Hi-Ho Cheeseburger, I don't know how many locations they have. I would assume they bank at a regional bank, and they're going to say like, why would I risk this? It had nothing to do about tech.
Well, by the way, like I think people underappreciate how important regional and community banks are to like America. Do you understand? Do you remember on it when we were first starting 5-4 and we were doing well, we would walk into a bank. Did one person give us a loan?
No, zero.
And
we barely even get to deposit your checks.
We were doing damn near 9 figures. We couldn't get a fucking loan.
Mm-hmm.
And we couldn't get a larger credit line. We couldn't get anything. These big, large banks, I remember going to Wells Fargo when we were doing $50, $60 million a year. They would put a hold on my fucking check.
For sure.
And
yeah,
so,
you wouldn't be able to get it right away. Whereas these community banks, if you were to walk in with a $2 million check, it's available right away.
Yes. They play such a crucial role to like small business in America. And I think what's scary is that there's a chance we could lose that because of what happened over the weekend. And I think, I was texting with Zach a lot over the weekend just to, he has a lot of friends in the venture community, and like, what was kind of your guys, you're rolling more in like the technology crowd where a lot of those people are very liquid and have cash. What was kind of their sentiment? Was there fear?
Yeah, I think that there was a lot of, I think that for the most part, people were a lot more concentrated on like the business exposure that they had. I think that because people are so liquid and they weren't really worried about like, how am I going to pay my car note, or how am I going to go on vacation, or go pay rent. But, like some of these people had thousands of payroll, like payroll's next Wednesday, right? And so, had thousands of people that were potentially not going to get their payroll, because a lot of the largest payroll companies in technology all run through Silicon Valley Bank, like Rippling and Gusto, and and there was even like some level of contagion to the point that like Etsy, like people on Etsy weren't getting paid out. There was like a payout that was supposed to happen on Friday for Etsy, and they weren't getting paid out. And so I think that a lot of, at least the people that I was talking to, were a lot more concerned about like the quote unquote little guy in technology, like just the regular employee who lives paycheck to paycheck, works at a tech company. And
what to your point, I think most of America thought that like big tech banked here, and it was like Google, Microsoft, like pulling the strings. And the reality is, no one at SVB who banks there is that big.
No.
What was the biggest company? Like Roku?
Yeah, and it was
What is Roku?
It was kind of unfortunate that was the name of the first bank to fail. Like,
Yeah.
I think that it was like a pretty popular narrative on Twitter. If this was named like the first farmers bank of the Midwest, nobody would have even batted an eyelid about.
Yeah, we got to save the farmers.
Yeah,
exactly.
But that was the dynamic that was happening, like over the 72 hours, and you had AOC starting to dunk on tech. You had you didn't even understand what was going on. These
even
are
the
little guys.
Even Vivek Ramaswamy, who's the Republican candidate for president.
Trash.
This
trash.
I went from moderately liking him to fucking hating his
Yeah,
guts.
he's complete.
Terrible.
And even everyone thought just because it was the messenger that was actually explaining how bad this can actually be for the little guy. Because guess what? The Silicon Valley Bank, like you said, and it's 10 to 1,000 people companies that I think Zach and I talked last night, and you said there would have been 1 million people that missed payroll this week.
At least. That was just on the 4 large payroll companies that run through Silicon Valley Bank. So I'm sure there's a lot smaller ones that also, because not a lot of people talking about this, but Silicon Valley Bank almost collapsed the entire wine industry too.
Right.
There's a bunch of weird little Northern California.
I mean, that'd be devastating for Anand.
No more Screaming Eagle.
No more Harland.
All that's free for me. I don't pay for any of that stuff.
Well, guess what? If they don't exist, you ain't getting it for free.
Yeah. It just, one thing that really, I think every time we have these little crises, something new kind of gets exposed and blows my mind. What blew my mind about this, and it also goes back to what you guys are saying about the kids on Melrose or the people out last night, is how many people, including people in positions of power, have no fucking idea how things work. To look at that and to draw the conclusion, big tech finally getting what's coming to them. It is so fucking silly. And many people were saying that. It blew my mind.
I texted D in one of our many group chats at 11 a.m. to a group of friends. I was like, 4 hours till we figure out if the economy is going to collapse.
You know what's so crazy?
Because futures start at 3 p.m. Pacific time Sunday.
So can I tell you what I did? I have not been sleeping, so I took a nap at 2 p.m. with my son next to me, and literally I'd set an alarm for 2:50, and I was like, bro, enough with your Disney. I need to turn on Bloomberg. And then literally at 3:15, it says all depositors are made whole. Yep. I was like, oh my God.
So I just purposely, my kids are asleep. So at 3 p.m., I put my phone down and I was like, I got to take a nap. Because by the time I wake up, I'll figure out. Because this was going to be a disaster for the entire American banking system if you don't guarantee American depositors.
Yeah.
Because you lose faith to every bank. If you're a small business, most small businesses have more than $250,000 in their bank.
Yeah.
It's not safe. And so how can you bank in the American economy?
But can I ask you guys a question here? Can I just try to try to erase all the panic and everything that just happened? And let me ask you a question and tell me if I'm on the right track or not. It seems to me like this situation almost did cause all that and almost was catastrophic. But in reality, it was very, very, very different than 2008.
Yep.
And it was 5% actual problem, 95% fear, panic, social media, internet, and the government simply stepping in and saying, listen, guys, calm down. We'll insure all deposits is it's instantly solved. Had they not done that, it would be so incredibly negligent that it'd be hard to even wrap your head around. But am I correct in thinking that the actual problem here was not that big?
No, I think here's the issue. Because interest rates hike so quickly, Silicon Valley Bank was the first to be known that they have all these long-dated treasuries at 1.5%, and the returns now should be 5%, and then their customers' deposits went down. So there's a mismatch on the balance sheet, so they have to sell the securities.
Yep.
I think what the government really quickly figured out was that this isn't a Silicon Valley Bank problem. This is every bank problem.
Yeah.
And there is the reason why they stepped in and did it. Not because tech Twitter caused a bank run. They realized, oh shit, all these banks are upside down. We raised rates so quickly. Everyone was doing the same thing that Silicon Valley Bank was doing. And especially in the regional banks, because you have to make a profit. And back then when interest rates were 1.5% is nice.
Yeah.
So I think.
So can I ask you a different question then?
Yep.
Let's just say that snowball never happened. That word never got out. Oh my God, SVB is fucked. Everyone start pulling their money out and business goes as usual. Now, usual does mean high interest rates. It means less money coming into startups. It does mean less deposits at SVB. Does the music stop at some point or were they a functional business pending?
They were completely functional. It was panic.
They were completely solvent.
The reason that they collapsed was because $42 billion of outflows in a single day is a really large part of their deposit base. And so,
but based on no structural problems, right? Like, is this all mental? Is this all fear and panic?
It's game theory. And I think that the reason that I've talked to a lot of fund managers over the weekend, and the reason that they were pulling out money and advising other funds to pull out money or other companies to pull out money is because there's no downside in pulling out money. There's a lot of downside in leaving money, but you don't get penalized there's no issue in pulling out your money and taking it somewhere else. But there's a lot of these people have, very litigious investors and LPs. And if you breach your fiduciary duty when you have some level of information and you're not acting on it, and there was no risk to leaving your money in, just the pros in taking it out outweighed the cons by a long stretch. And so enough people realized that to basically precipitate. And the more people that realized that, the more real the actual problem underlying what they were leaving in the first place for became.
Yeah, because the game, to your point about game theory, America's fine if Silicon Valley Bank goes under. The world is over if JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Citibank, and Bank of America go under. Yeah. So we learned that in 2008. Those guys aren't going anywhere.
Yeah,
we'll get rid of Indy Mac. We'll get rid of Washington Mutual.
Freddie Mac.
Indy Mac. That was the Indy Bank. Yeah. I mean, even though those depositors are made whole.
Yeah.
So it's like that was the game theory, being like, hey, why would I stay in a regional bank when I know if JP Morgan goes under, the whole world's collapsed?
Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to get to here is like, it feels to me, once again, just tell me if I'm thinking about this wrong, but it feels to me like 2008 was much more of a structural problem, right? There was there was real problems there. The business was sound. And even though it was vulnerable to a black swan event, it's still like it was still a sound business. And so therefore, simply some sort of guarantee or something that people would have been made whole from the first place could have avoided all of this panic, because the actual financial system is not crashing. It's just it reminds me of like, GameStop, and when all that shit was happening, it was like there were some people who knew, and then it spread like wildfire. And if you got in too late and blah, 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 that's what I felt like was going to happen. I felt like SVB was going to collapse. First Republic was going to collapse, all just because of the internet and panic and the way information spreads these days, not because of a actual structural problem. It's really interesting to look at.
Yeah, I think the bigger problem is that information moves faster than money can move. And that's something that Anthony, our friend, texted me today. We were talking about it. If you think about how quickly information spread over the last, during the business days of Thursday and Friday, money could not move fast enough. And whether the information is accurate or not, like I got blocked by whoever was posting that FDIC had taken over First Republic, which has not been proven that's true or not to this point.
A lot of people have called him a fraud.
And I said, your dumbass tweet has consequences. And he blocked me right away. So I couldn't see what else he was saying.
Well, he had a short position open on First. A lot of people whistle blew him to the SEC. So he's probably not going to have a good week.
And so let me finish real quickly. Like the point is that like we're in a time period where it's funny because the people that are commenting the most about SVB have nothing to do with it. Like they don't have any money there. They have no one that banks there. They don't know anything. But, it's like, when you're in a conversation at like a big dinner table and someone just fucking butts their head into the conversation, that's what the internet is like. And that's what every news cycle is like. So a bunch of people was like talking about, oh my God, the bank's going to collapse. And then they started making memes about like bank run. And then they
Created one.
It created one. And so there's no consequences for anyone who created a meme that joked about the SVB bank run. It just became it. And then now everyone has to deal with what those results are. But like, we are at a place where like, I'm kind of against free speech. Shut the fuck up. But you almost crashed the entire global economy because you wanted to be funny and comment about fucking banking.
Yeah, and I don't think people even tomorrow morning that aren't in tech will realize.
Can I give you an analogy that you'll appreciate? You know what I was thinking about?
Is it a razor?
I don't know any razors.
Which razor is it?
I'm going to go back to a movie from the 90s. It's called A Few Good Men.
Love it.
Okay.
Can't handle the truth?
And do you remember when Jack Nicholson said, "You need me on that wall"? Yep. He was indicating basically that we're on the brink of fucking world war any given moment. And then all these people are on the front lines and you get to sleep in your bed and you get to enjoy your fucking...
Your Harvard...
Harvard fucking, I mean, not that word. And like, you get to enjoy your life. Like, that's what I was thinking when I was driving down Melrose. I was thinking about Jack Nicholson and Few Good Men.
It's a great analogy because it's my favorite movie of all time.
People don't, I think military people appreciate it because they're dealing with like the brink of war daily. Like some bad mistake that causes nuclear weapons to go off, right? Yep. And basically that's what happened, but we got to see it in public. And we saw that people are not capable of handling the information.
But we got to see it in public and private in a weird way because all of our friends and our businesses are in this industry.
Yeah.
So we understood the ramifications. And my point was basically, people are going to wake up tomorrow. I was like, oh, great, depositors. Like, we knew that like 1 million people were going to get their paychecks this week.
Yeah.
And then that would cause the other bank that banks farmers to be like, oh, we're out. The other bank that banks restaurants, we're out. Yeah. We're going. And then you would have had this cascading effect. And this is what is going to be lost in this whole story is how serious this was. This was not 2008 by no means, but this was, you're basically not guaranteeing American businesses can exist.
Yeah. But like the thing that's fascinating to me is I feel like it's kind of like it's the GameStop effect. It's like the new age that we play in. Like I even heard, I think it was probably the All In guys talking about like how fast stuff spreads because everyone's on text chains and whatever. And you just kind of said that deep. But what I think they missed there is the world is now on that text chain. Like a while ago, if you were in the Silicon Valley text chain or you were in the email thread, you were in the know and you were in that group. But now, like there are so many people, and we've seen that from all of these investment moves that happened during COVID and all that they follow these Twitter accounts and really, really trust these people. And so if those people say, hey, pull your money out, better be safe than sorry, the chain reaction there is so massive. And it's just, I guess that's my question is like, I guess killing free speech is one option, but the other option is like, what do you do to protect for that? These sort of contagion moments can just happen now, and a totally healthy institution can be crumbled and cause a chain reaction, and that can all happen. That couldn't happen before.
Yeah, 100% you're right, because I think Zach and I on Thursday, we were like, we heard two different text chains and it was like 5 billion out of Silicon Valley Bank, and it's like random people we know,
and so 42 seems accurate.
I think it's like a pernicious contributor to all of this is
what
actually
does pernicious mean? I've never even heard that word in my life.
Pernicious means like evil, but without being obviously evil. You know, it's like bad for you, but not obvious.
Where are you learning that word, and how are you? Have you heard of pernicious?
Of course.
Drama. Oh my God! I'm the only one that's ever pernicious sounds like
I don't use it. I'm not brave enough to use it. It doesn't fly in my circles, but in Zach is talking with a lot of smart people, I'm guessing.
Is that the Hanlon's razor? Like people aren't evil, people are stupid.
Well, I think like the thing that like was a contributing factor is like the algorithms and how they play into the way that people consume information. Because like if you talk about something like a bank run or wanting to, that gets a lot of engagement, and therefore anything else that is within that circle also becomes something that people want to talk about to kind of farm engagement. And then you get into this really weird cycle where everybody sort of hones it. Like my feeds this weekend were just straight, you know, especially on Twitter, just run on the bank, what's happening. And it's because, you know, you're kind of living this algorithmic cycle where, you know, you're just being pushed the things that are in most instances the most divisive, because that's what gets the most engagement. Yeah. And if it just becomes this echo chamber where you're just constantly being fed
but how do you
information.
How do you
I think the only solution is regulators and the government just have to say, like, referee, timeout, before like the information just goes too rapidly in one way or the other.
I think the problem is the Fed, in historical times, the Fed moved very quickly.
But quickly in the Fed was like a week. Yeah. So if you remember March 2020, it took like 2 weeks of the stock market.
I know, that's what I'm saying. If you given that context, they basically in 48 hours solved the problem. But they had to actually have solved it on Friday. Because you know what happened on Saturday? One shitty video of a bank in Brentwood, of a branch of First Republic, which it's unclear if people were actually taking out money. Someone that interviewed
or if it was
people,
a Supreme drop.
or like it was just a Whole Foods line in Brentwood. Like no one knows what actually happened.
Yeah.
But this fucking video was basically the comparable of the tank video in April of 2020. Yeah. You remember when everyone said my cousin at the Pentagon?
That's what I was joking the whole weekend. Yeah. Everyone had a cousin from the Federal Reserve.
But it is
my cousin at the Pentagon is now the cousin. He now moved to the Federal Reserve.
I want to get back to the Jack Nicholson thing. And this is like where we have to struggle now because information exchanges so quickly. Like the behind the scenes is ugly. Like how things get solved in the financial system and wars and everything, and they used to get solved privately.
Yeah, we're not ready for that as a society. You need me on that wall.
I agree. We do need him on the wall. That was the whole beauty of the movie because you didn't know who to root for.
Here's the only thing I want to just add to that analogy is without like everyone, like kind of the public, that war, quote unquote, to use that analogy, never even happens in the first place. There was nothing to clean up.
Right.
Like that's the craziest thing about this whole thing is that like it is the same as the tank video. It's the same as the hysteria that happened during COVID. It's the same as every waiter that you talked to in 2021 was asking you about Dogecoin. It's the same as it's this new climate that we live in that can now cause bank runs.
Yeah.
Like how
this isn't a small bank. This is $200 billion.
Yes, and that wasn't a run that was already happening that the people should have cleaned up. The few good men should have cleaned up behind the scenes. Those people didn't have to know about it. Those people caused it. And it was sparked by real founders and real people. I'm not blaming everybody, but you see what I'm saying? It's such a weird. This is a new thing that can happen. That is a new threat in the world that we have to somehow find a way to build like stopgaps. And I don't know how you do that.
And and it's kind of what we've talked about since we've done this podcast, like the black swans in my adulthood, 9/11, great financial crisis, then COVID. Pandemic.
Yeah.
And then we just had one a week, 3 days ago.
I feel like they're going to happen every 6 months now.
That's my point. Yeah. So you're just accelerating the half-lives of black swans. Yeah. It's going to keep happening.
Well, they're not black swans then, because black swans you never see.
Gray swans.
Right.
Yeah. My perspective is that if honestly timelines moved back to chronological and they were so optimized for like algorithmically trying to push the best, most interesting, most engaged content forward, if you just had, because I'm sure there was a bunch of tweets this weekend that we all probably would have seen of people talking about the Oscars or people talking about a random thing in sports, people like pushing forward a random, if it was just all chronological. But the fact that like the most kind of like crazy, divisive, insane things that getting pushed to the top of the feed, I think is like actually a really, really negative aspect of society these days.
It's true. I didn't see one Oscar tweet.
Yeah, the 4 Oscars just got overshadowed.
Yeah, I think they're going to plummeting ratings. Everyone's like worried about their bank run. They're not fucking bank.
Everyone's asleep right now because they finally got some fucking peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right regardless, Zach. However much that would help this issue, like that for sure, I think just makes things worse. I don't know exactly what is made better by like the way the algorithms favor content.
Profitability for the tech companies. That's
exactly,
really
that's it, right? Yeah. What's better in society? Anything?
Yeah,
like a hot meme.
And what's funny about the weekend was you see a lot of tech people tweeting about how serious this is. And a lot of them are rich guys. And then politicians were dunking on them because they're like, the rich guys are trying to ask for government regulation. And then privately, every big fund manager was chomping at the bit this weekend. They were ready to fucking cram these companies down and make billions and billions of dollars at the expense of the little guy. Yeah. And like, no one even understands that.
Well, I think the big takeaway from the weekend was that America generally hates tech. They hate people from Silicon Valley. They think they're elitist. They think they're, they just don't want to support them. What they don't realize is they hate like the 10 people on Twitter, but not like, they don't understand like how many founders are basically immigrants that came from nothing, that are basically paycheck to
or
paycheck.
Like your 50 employees that aren't billionaires.
Yeah, myself included. I have no money, so it's fine. So it's like, but it's like a function of like, there's so many people in this ecosystem that are thriving and not representative of what they think tech is. And I get it. Like, honestly, like tech has done an incredibly poor job of PR in general. It's easy to hate technology people, right? Yep. You see the Silicon Valley show, you see the memes, you see the money being
but even like the All In podcast, which is top 20, top 15 podcast now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I thought they did a great job of explaining everything, and they brought the seriousness, and they have a huge platform, and I'm sure a lot of people listen.
Yeah.
But guess what? On their podcast, they brag about private jets, their Laura Piana, and they joke about whose plane is picking up who.
Yeah.
And that's easily hateable.
Yeah. And
I'm not hating on them. I'm just saying when you hear
I do gotta say, there was a moment when Chamath said, and I love those guys, but there was a moment when Chamath was like, listen, let's all take a moment and just say to everyone, we are sorry. And it just felt like, man, shut up. Like, I know that you are. I know you're probably a great guy, but it's just like, dude, don't do that.
Yeah, and I think that's what people view.
Because they are technically the voice of Silicon Valley. They are a top 15 podcast. I looked at what their podcast was trending after Friday.
It sucks. I mean, it's nice to be number one, but 15 is fine.
Yeah, sure. We're number one. They're 14. It's great. But they are the voice of Silicon Valley. Yeah. And whether people want to like it or not, and whether people want to discredit or credit their credentials, they are the voice. Yeah. So when you hear them talk like that on the podcast, like with great reach takes great responsibility. You don't hear Joe Rogan, who's effectively a billionaire, talking like that.
Yeah, and I think go ahead.
Well, I'm going to go kind of in like a deeper weird lane. So you go first.
Yeah. Go weird.
Okay. Here's just one thing I want to say and see what you guys think. Number one, I actually don't think America hates tech. I think America hates success at this moment, like very overly successful people. And I think the spotlight was shined on to tech. I think if it was like, Goldman Sachs failed, I think people would have acted the same way. The other thing that I want to say is like, I think a lot of this has to do with the way we handled 2008. And the way people got bailouts, and like people just had flashbacks and like, oh, more bailouts, more rich people. And it wasn't the same thing. It was actually different. But the way that we handled that, and we put out movies about it. I mean, you said you watched The Big Short last night. I almost did too. Too Big to Fail is a great documentary. We glorified how fucked up that actually was and how many people got fucked and how the people who did it didn't actually have any penalty. Yeah. And I think that like, I don't know. The reason why I'm not picking a side here, I'm just saying it's a really messy issue because I think a lot of people have that still burned in their head. And so when they see this, they just associate it to that. They say it's the same thing. They say everyone rich is evil. They say let them all go down. And there's just an utter lack of understanding of what's going on. There's a lack of fairness in some places. You know what I'm saying? It's
really... the bad taste from 2008 and was there were no consequences to the people who created the problem.
Yeah.
And despite the bailouts being absolutely necessary, if TARP didn't happen, the global economy would have come to a screeching halt.
They should have got TARP and some arrests.
Exactly. We didn't do the consequences. So people started thinking like, oh, again, the rich guys are just going to get bailed out. But this time it wasn't the rich guys.
Yeah,
that's all I wanted to throw out there. That's why I think it's so messy. It's because people are like, again, here it is again. You got to get them this time. And like, it wasn't that.
I mean, if you're a billionaire, you're banking at JP Morgan.
Yeah. And it's weird. It's like the hate is scaled, right? It's like there's a certain level of success that's palatable. If you're like an amazing chef that's super successful, that seems to be okay. Or if you're like an athlete that's reached some level of success and you're a millionaire, that seems to be okay. But I think it's just like such extreme levels of wealth are so hard. It's like such a hard thing for people to wrap their head around.
I mean, a billionaire investor is like worst case scenario.
Yeah,
or a billionaire tech guy in this current climate too.
But I'm just saying, it's like, what do you do? Like, people don't understand what they can see an athlete on a field.
It's so far removed. Yeah, it's hard to quantify, especially for that kind of person, like what the actual value that's being provided is. For the average person in America, Elon Musk owning Twitter is a terrible. Like they just can't wrap their head around it. It's like, what is the actual? Why is this $44 billion being trading hands, and what is the actual value to me as a person that this person is going to get rich off this? And so I think that it really just becomes, it's like there's too much success is really the issue here, not like success in itself. It's it's like very hierarchical in that way.
Yeah, moderate.
True, great point.
Feels
I'm just saying
pernicious.
It's very pernicious. I'm just saying it's just so, I don't know. When I try to go down the rabbit hole, it leads me to like, okay, but we've also done this thing before where people weren't punished. And these are some of the side effects of that, is people are just sick of it. And so that leads to having really poor judgment or understanding what's even happening today, because what happened today was very different than what happened then. It's just, I don't know. It's just it's a weird spot we find ourselves in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the thing that I struggle with is like we've sent close to $100 billion to Ukraine. That's fine. You believe that's the right cause. That think that's right for the world. Great. You have the opportunity, and it's now clear, taxpayers are not paying for the SVB bailout. They're not. They've wiped out all the equity. They've wiped out all the bondholders. It's just about making the depositors whole.
Yep.
And so taxpayers are not coming out of pocket. And the problem is, in the news tomorrow and on Twitter and social media and in the water cooler, it's going to make it feel like taxpayers bailed out, which is not even true. Taxpayers had nothing to do with making depositors whole.
And they're going to make it seem like the rich guys got bailed out.
The rich guys.
Water cooler is taxpayers bailed out Google. That's going to be tomorrow's
Yes, exactly. And they're saying that VCs got bailed out. VCs were mildly affected by this.
VCs would have loved for no depositors to have money tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
It would have been a structured season.
Yeah, exactly.
They would have done the converts that they did in March of 2020, like they did to Airbnb, and made a fortune.
To be fair, though, I mean, just to offer the other side of that, there were a lot of VCs that like went personal balance sheet, no questions asked, no documents, just sending money.
Of course, they knew which the winners were.
Yeah.
So.
No, I agree. I know some of them, and that's great. Yeah. But if it extended a little longer, they would have benefited.
Yeah. I think the through line is,
no one understands that. Like, that's not going to be the conversation.
No, because the problem is that everyone thinks that VCs. The problem is when they think of VC, they think of a white guy losing fucking hair and a fucking Patagonia vest and a pair of jeans and some on-running shoes, and they hate that person.
Yep.
They literally hate that person. And that is the problem. That's the perceived reality of what a VC is.
Think of the All In podcast.
I don't even know if, maybe we think of certain
flying
members
around talking about your sweaters and
remember, like, they're on yachts.
Your chef, right?
Yeah, and I think that is a PR thing that, like, I think the big lesson of the weekend was the biggest fumble of SVB. Put aside that whatever idiot that decided to put $91 billion in 1% 10-year.
Can we talk about the CEO?
We can shortly, but the biggest fumble is how you communicate news to the public is extremely important, because I'm sure in the last 10 years, there's been worse news from an S&P 500 company to a shareholder base than what SVB delivered to their shareholder base. 100%. I'm confident there's been worse news. For whatever reason, this was triggering. That caused something that we've never seen before.
Well, I think it's triggering because you had individuals who could just withdraw money freely.
Yeah.
And
that's why it's triggering.
because SVB, to their credit and fault, it's an incredible user interface. You just press a few buttons, your money's out.
Yeah.
So they made it so easy. If people that were withdrawing $1 billion wanted to withdraw from Wells Fargo, that's taking a week.
Yeah.
That's not happening in like 30 minutes the way it happened.
I mean, you can't even, when I go to Wells Fargo, my personal's there.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even fucking get in line.
Yeah, you haven't seen that money in years. That thing might as well be a fucking 10-year lockbox. Yeah, I think that the psychology, like what's possible with a bank run is you can't compare it to anything else. Because it's like, you're not a shareholder. It's your money that's in there. It's your money, so it's the most precious thing to you. You can get it out with a couple button taps. Like there's all of these things that just make it so ripe for like fear and quick action. And, if a company tells their shareholders, hey, we had a really bad quarter, blah, 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 fine. But the people with their money in SVB aren't shareholders even. They're just, people using the product. I think it's such a touchy thing. That's why I don't know what you do, but there has to be something. I mean, I feel like the action, like the beginning of the contagion and the run on the bank started before anyone in Washington even knew what the fuck was going on. I mean,
no, it went too fast.
That's the thing. It happened so fast because if Thursday, when everyone started withdrawing money, had the government, because they probably didn't even know, because there were tweets like, hey, the politicians have no idea what's going on.
I mean, I have some inside baseball that the politicians barely knew what was going on last night. It's like literally all of this has basically come today.
Right.
Yeah.
So had they said on Thursday, American deposits at Silicon Valley Bank are backstopped by the government, there wouldn't have been a bank run.
And Silicon Valley would still be a bank.
And you wiped out.
Even just what happened on First Republic over the weekend. The most watched video on Twitter this weekend was some random person's sketchy 30-second video of people driving by a rainy First Republic branch in Brentwood.
I sent it around.
No, I mean, that's my point. Is that like, and then some guy saying that the FDIC seized First Republic, some fucking nobody saying that. And like,
I sent that too. I did. I mean, today I went golfing and the guy I was golfing with has money in First Republic. And I'm like, bro, look at this.
Like, they're like, damn it, I got to pay for this guy's for lunch.
Yeah. And he literally
By
was
the
on
way,
the phone
I
with
milked
his
the
business
shit
manager.
out of this weekend. I was like, oh man, I don't got no money. I got to pay. You got to pay for dinner.
Yeah, this guy was on the phone.
You did? You fucked me.
The bartender was like, is it on your tab or his tab? I was like, his tab.
You knew Saturday night I had no money. I had $1 in my name.
That's fine.
My wife was like, we were ordering food at a Mexican restaurant on Friday at like 5. I was like, I have no money. Like my bank is gone.
My reasoning was like, it's YOLO. Like the debt's the debt.
By the way, let's move on to that. Let's move on to that because I think that's extremely important. What are the secondary impacts of what just happened? So first, people don't realize the debt market is extremely important for small business and
for venture.
For all businesses.
Yeah. But venture's been the biggest beneficiary.
No, it's not the biggest beneficiary. I disagree with that. I think in general, like I talked to someone, not going to mention their name, but you could figure it out. Grandson of one of the most prominent retail families in America. And I had dinner with him a few weeks ago, and he was telling me that 60 years ago, when his grandfather was starting his business in North Carolina, he took the banker out, steak dinner, bottle of wine, and got a loan. That's how America worked. They trusted you. They gave you money. And then a lot of things happen in between that where there's became like a lot of checks and balances for you to be able to get money and access to capital. And after 2008, it became fucking impossible. And there was this one little bank called Silicon Valley Bank that if you were venture backed, they took some warrants and they gave you some cash. And obviously people are upset that like all these people got debt. I get it. As a small business owner for many years, I get it. If you're venture backed, all of a sudden you get access to capital. So I get the anger around that. But
just to like explain that dynamic for people who aren't in tech, if you go raise $5-10 million from, you name the VC, as long as the bank has heard of them, they automatically give you a facility immediately.
Yeah.
And that doesn't exist for other small businesses.
No.
So like, 5-4 for 20 years, we couldn't get a debt line of credit.
We can get a credit card.
Explain what a facility
We're
is.
fucking Capital One.
No, basically, so you get non-dilutive capital.
Yeah.
So you raise 10 million and then you have access to another 5 million at whatever the interest rate would be given the environment. 18 months ago, 1%. Today, 6-7%. And now you have not 10 million that you raise, you have 15 million.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can extend your runway and build your business. And that extra 5 didn't dilute your equity that you own in the business.
There we go. Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure we explained it clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, prior to call it probably 2000s, you could walk into a bank as a small business. If you're a particular race, you would get money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty awesome. Like, it's pretty awesome that you can have access to money, because as time has gone, it's pretty hard for any business to get any access to cash. And part of what's happened in the last decade is all these fintech companies like the Brexes and Amplas and Wayflyers that gave access to capital. Shopify does it as well, which I think is extremely important to the ecosystem, because you need to have money to grow, right? It's not easy just to grow these businesses. And when I'm thinking about what's going to happen now, is basically the lending environment is going to shut.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely for venture.
Yeah. If
venture debt, I think as of tomorrow is done.
It's over, right? Like, it's going to be impossible to get money to grow your business. So then you only have equity or you don't have access to capital.
Mm-hmm.
That is fucking scary, because the one thing that you were saying, and I was also saying, is that if you think about America, the most important thing that we've had over the last decade is not culture, because we lost it to Bad Bunny and BTS.
And Burna Boy.
Yeah, which are none of them are American. So is innovation. And we have decided now, as of this weekend, that we are not fucking backing innovation.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're going to back sound businesses. Unfortunately, innovation is
messy.
Risk.
It's messy.
It's life sciences.
Amazon didn't make a profit for how many years? Amazon's changed every American's life.
The world. It's changed the world. Amazon's one of the most revolutionary companies. Google, Microsoft, all these companies. And if these new generation of entrepreneurs that are building revolutionary business do not have access to capital, it's bad for fucking America. Like, it is, I would call it anti-patriotic for us to not back SVB and say, not only back SVB and go say, you know what, we're going to fucking honor all those venture debt deals.
Somebody I was very somebody I was very intelligent that I was speaking with this weekend was basically like, could you imagine how happy they are in China and Russia that all of this is going down? Like, they couldn't have came up with a more perfect storm to basically set American innovation back. Like, they could, like, in their wildest dreams, this bank run could never have come up. But like, we're basically doing it to ourselves.
Yeah. It's self-inflicted.
Yeah.
And to exactly that point, like, we joke about AI, like we've made a lot of jokes on this podcast, but that is the next platform. And you need 1,000 companies to lose a lot of money
to figure it out,
to figure out the next Google, the next Facebook. And would you rather have that coming from America, or would you rather have it be in China? Because guess what? They kicked our ass in social media. TikTok is it.
Yeah. I just want to say, I think you guys are short-term right, but long-term wrong. And I think that's a good thing. Meaning, I think there's some fear. I think that'll stick around for a minute. But I think that, like, nothing proves to be as reliable as American, like, need for return on investment. Like, we saw the way, like, when AI became popular, instantly money started flying into that. We've talked before about the ridiculous things that money was just flying into. If you just had it on your fucking Instagram bio, we made jokes, in 2021.
What's your point to that?
My point is that I think that we can't help but invest in what we think are great ideas. The banks, the investors, the VCs, I think it'll go back. I don't think a scared environment here, with the way that we chase opportunity, the way that no one wants to get left behind. Everyone has FOMO. They want to be in on the deal, in on the next great company. I just don't see this lasting. I think there's fear that happens for a small amount of time after this, but I just think we can't help it. We see the way that people blindly throw money at a category that is supposed to be hot. I don't think we have anything to worry about, is what I'm saying long term.
Well, I think you're definitely right on the venture side, but the venture debt side definitely was an accelerator for a lot of companies. Mm-hmm. So if we have even a short-term blip on you don't get venture debt, then you short-term don't have as good of innovation as you had 5 years ago.
Yeah, the problem for me is that nothing actually happened. Like nothing actually went wrong. So it's this very scary moment that you look at that you're like, whoa, what the fuck just happened? But it wasn't all of the venture credit lines that they gave. It wasn't that actually happened. Nothing fundamentally actually happened in a sense. So I'm just saying that I don't think that's just my guess, is that I don't think it'll last long. I hope you're right. Because I think we can't help banks, investors, no one can help. Everyone has FOMO. Something's popping and seems like the next big thing everybody wants in. And I just don't think that'll go away.
You're probably right. I mean, I think you're
shit
right.
in this country over and over again that's very reckless because people have FOMO. I don't see that stopping.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the problem is short term. We were already in kind of a jam financially from an ecosystem. So I think short term it'll be tough. I think there also needs to be like clear explanation, because a lot of people over the last 48 hours were like, why do you have more than $250,000 in a bank account?
So crazy.
It's like
who was saying that?
A lot of everybody's.
That was like a really pervasive part of Twitter was like, how to this is not for the average person. Like,
it's not for individuals, it's for companies.
Yeah, but they don't realize that it also applies to companies. So they're like, who would have more than $250,000 in a bank account? Only rich people who are out of touch. So fuck them.
No, and by the way, rich people do not have that. They have that diversification, but companies, they might have a bill to pay tomorrow. They might have $2 million in the bank account, and then the next day they have $5,000. And so it's not fair to companies. I've in my history, I've had so much money in my bank account and literally fucking zero the next day. And so for that time period, it's
called working capital.
Yeah, that's my point, is that like businesses, when it comes to the FDIC, need to be treated differently.
Yeah, you need to raise the limits.
They need to raise the limits. They need to have.
It should actually be unlimited.
Well, it's so dumb, because if you were a business and you had 50 bank accounts, they would insure you $250K across 50.
Yeah.
But because it's all concentrated in one, they won't.
Yeah.
And it's
imagine
really
Apple goes, we have 75 million bank accounts because we have $1 trillion. So fuck you.
That's why they're in Ireland.
Yeah.
They have 200 billion in Ireland. Ireland's insured their whole thing.
Did you see the Giannis Antetokounmpo thing where he has like 17?
Is that real? I saw it.
I don't know if any reason why I wouldn't. But he has 17 or like 20
like 50 bank accounts.
Yeah, he has like 50 bank accounts with $250K each.
Yeah.
I have to give credit. Sleepy Joe tweeted today, under my direction.
Yeah.
Treasury Secretary Yellen.
How much do you think he actually had to do with it, though?
He had to greenlight it.
I think he has to greenlight it. I think if it was up to Yellen, she would just fuck the bank.
Because on Friday morning, I had Bloomberg on, and they were asking like a White House economic council guy. He's actually Indian. Something Ramamurthy.
Okay.
An Indian guy. Yeah. And they were asking him.
He's like, what's that?
Yeah, he had no clue what was going on.
Yeah.
And I was like, he just kept dodging. He's like, the Fed and us are independent. Whatever the Fed decides is great. Guess what? 2 days later, the president said, it's my call.
But you realize he didn't like make one mention of it until that tweet. Like there was not a single.
He was talking about the economy. By the way, we have a CPI coming hot this week.
So my prediction is Powell's neutered. It's over.
Yeah. So
interest rate hikes are done. We've seen the peak, and I think I'm going to win my bet. First 6 months, we're going to see a rate cut.
Okay, that's a good prediction. I like the bold prediction.
Because
there's no way he raises anymore.
He can't.
March
raise.
22nd is the next date. So what is it? 13th?
Yeah.
Is it 13th?
2 weeks from now.
Based on what we've seen,
you almost saw the economy collapse because
of rising interest rates.
Yeah,
that's literally the reason
we
why.
didn't even get to that. The reason why this all happened was because interest rates went up 4x, and they didn't realize banks have treasuries that are
long dated
and not. This is what's insane.
How do you know?
Silicon Valley Bank was not in like
bad shape.
Delinquent mortgages, right?
No, but they also were in mortgage-backed securities.
Mortgage-backed securities, sure, but they weren't in like what was the
pretty low risk
CDS,
mortgage-backed securities, right?
Yeah, they weren't CDOs. They weren't in all that shit.
They weren't in all this super exotic stuff. But like,
can I ask you guys another question? Is like, do you think
how does the Fed not realize when they were raising rates? You have all these banks. This wasn't like the 100th biggest bank in the U.S. This was the 15th. Like, hey, maybe we should look at their balance sheet and see, like, hey, every time we just go up and talk out of our ass, who's it going to affect?
But honest question, do you think that they consider that and they know that and they're like, well, they have some scenarios? Or do you think that they just fundamentally don't understand the ripple effect?
I think they have zero clue. Zero clue. I absolutely believe they have zero clue that banks were putting customer deposits and long-based treasury securities. Because if you did, you would understand it very quickly. Because guess what? They figured it out in the last 48 hours because they didn't bail out tech. They bailed it out because they knew every bank is doing this.
Yeah. That's fucking wild.
Nobody knows anything. Everyone's a bunch of fucking morons.
Yeah,
I just wish, I don't know how you fix this problem, but I think one of the big problems that got exposed.
Powell's been wrong every single time for the last 2 years.
I mean, the
in
fact
December and November in 2021, he said inflation is transitory.
Yeah, that makes me mad. Like, someone like
here's the problem now.
January, he said we're good.
Yeah,
soft landing.
40 days later, the economy almost collapses.
And by the way, this is the sad reality of what's about to happen. If I'm an American and I thought there was a potential bank run, two things are going to happen at the same time. Jerome Powell has to pause raising.
Yep.
Maybe he cuts, maybe he doesn't, but he pauses.
Yeah, zeros for sure. Yeah.
If I'm a citizen of this country and I know that the money in my bank account can be removed, I'm YOLOing it. I'm going to spend my dick off. And I'm going to go to Disneyland and I'm getting the fucking guide and I'm dropping $10,000 and then I'm going to go eat at whatever restaurant I want. And I'm like, inflation is going to be so out of control in the next 6 months. We're so fucked. I can't even tell you. Like,
what percentage of Americans do you think understood that Friday meant
less than 5?
No, less than
5
1%.
people. 5 people or 5%.
I think it's like literally 1,000 people in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I was literally talking to people who were in Washington D.C. and have some level of like intelligence around global economies, and they had no idea, zero idea.
Okay, maybe fuck it.
Maybe there's just no impact. Maybe it's just a weird thing that happened, then we kind of move on and we see how shaky of ground we're standing on.
I mean, I was out to dinner with like a bunch of people, half tech and half not tech, and it was the weirdest table experience ever because like half of the people were just like glued to their phones, so stressed, sweating, and half the people were just like, "Yeah, order more XYZ." Like,
let's go to Bootsies.
Yeah, let's like, what are we doing after this? And like, it was just such a weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
was out at the same venue you were last night, and no one cared.
No one cared. People were ordering more. If anything.
By the way, we saw someone that has a lot of money in SVB. He didn't seem cared.
Yeah, I think he just assumed
it's gonna be fine.
Fixed it. Figured it out.
I mean, look, after all the chaos, I mean, we did call it, like we called that maybe they would get acquired or maybe something, but we did say on Thursday before we knew, all the panic that there's no way they would just let this happen. Something, they'll step in and something will happen. But I wish, here's my big, sort of cheesy thought is that I saw really this weekend is I wish there was a better narrative between like entrepreneurship and like what that means to the rest of the country. Cause it just seems like it really exposed how hated, a lot of entrepreneurs are. And that just
big
sucks.
problem.
Like, nobody wins that
suck.
way. It is all connected, whether you like it or not. And if one does well, there's more jobs, there's more this, there's more that. And man, people could not wait to fucking.
I think there's definitely, I don't think it's entrepreneurship. I think it's literally tech. Because if it was a real estate or a farmer or a small business retail, it would have been fine. Tech has done it. Tech people are just hateable. Yeah, the way they act, their clothes, it's like everything. They need a fucking rebrand. They need to get new PR. People hate their guts. You
switch out those shoes, D.
Am I on?
Yeah, you look like a tech guy.
Is On too tech?
Yeah, you might.
On's very tech.
They're so funny. They're just like too comfortable for me.
Don't wear those to the Midwest. Like, what's
so
up?
He might beat my guts.
Like when you guys wore that Dodger hat at Ohio State.
Oh yeah.
Like, I remember
Let me tell you, the words that were said to me at Ohio State versus USC wearing a Dodger hat. Brian probably has PTSD.
Go there and wear a SVB hat.
Like, here's the fundamental problem. So 2 days ago, I mentioned AOC, but I just want to pull up the tweet. How ridiculous
that's such a
the
bummer.
narrative can be. How many of the Silicon Valley folks who lobbied Congress and Trump to cause this crisis are willing to admit they were wrong? I haven't seen a single person that's crying for a bailout take a single ounce of accountability for their actions. It's honestly shameless. Like, what does that matter?
She doesn't understand. So they shouldn't have even said the word bailout.
You're literally hurting the people you pretend you're protecting.
Yeah.
To me, the word bailout is just a trick to like kind of trigger people from 08. It wasn't a bailout.
Bailout means that rich people are getting money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I hate that they do that.
Because people compared it to student loan forgiveness. The biggest difference, I'll tell you, just like if I were to keep it really blunt, depositors of Silicon Valley gave their own money to a bank and assumed it was safe. Student loan forgiveness is, I chose to go to this college. I made the decision that it was this overpriced institution, and I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but you chose to do that. And you have now agreed to pay back these bills. And 10 years later, you're like, nah, fuck it. I don't want to pay this shit. Like, this is a ripoff. I want my bills forgiven. And by the way, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with people getting their student loans forgiven because I think college is a ripoff. I'm okay with that. But at the same time, the people that gave their own money to this bank should not be fucked. They're not. It's not fake money. It's their own money.
Yep. And I just hate that. What happens in these moments is this like, what about game? Like, oh yeah, well, Trump did it. It's Trump's fault. Or what about student loans? Or what about, like, we're in the middle of a fucking crisis here that is like very valid. We're not bailing out the fat cats. There's a real thing here. Why are we talking about Trump?
Yeah, I mean, Javier wouldn't have a paycheck on Wednesday if they were.
By the way, you know who gets affected? The Victorian. Victorian and Santa Monica would lose 3 to 4 drinks.
Oh, that thing's closed.
And imagine that times 50.
I saw Javier's face on Friday. He's like, the boys are sad.
The boys are sad.
Oh, the boys knew. It was on your radar?
Did the boys knew that the world's falling apart?
The boy, I mean,
one boy.
Victoria this weekend was packed, I must say. So I don't know.
The boys didn't know.
Well, we internally, that's why we're out.
You know what else I learned this weekend? That's just an interesting part of this whole story is that TARP made money.
Yeah,
$100
$15 billion.
So much money.
I didn't know that.
It was like the best net gain for taxpayers.
But this is the thing when how D said, like, we just need to tell these stories better, is that's not, you could ask anyone what happened with TARP and they think we gifted that money to really rich people.
Yeah, 100%. The only problem was
they think it was their money.
There were no consequences for the people that made the decisions, which is wrong.
Agreed.
But the TARP was necessary and profitable for the American taxpayer.
Agreed. Yeah, I just wish, I don't know. I think in this, like, I think it's too much to ask. I think in like the crazy environment we live in and clickbait and fucking algorithms and CNN and Fox and whatever, like there's no way to do it. But it's a shame that there's not somewhere a narrative that is a little bit more accurate or, optimistic or.
Yeah, it's funny that a lot of the opinion thinkers that are just clickbait didn't know which side to go.
Yeah.
Republican and Democrat. And I was looking at both all their feeds. And I was like, who's going to address it? And they just were so out to lunch.
They're too scared.
They didn't know. They didn't understand.
Yeah.
They're like, which way do I just shit on someone?
Yeah.
They didn't understand it.
Yeah, they're like, I know I need to shit on somebody, but who's it going to be? Yeah, man, what a fucking weekend. The fact that this all happened since our last podcast, and now it's hopefully, essentially resolved. You would think that tomorrow we're going to be all good.
Tomorrow's going to be interesting. I don't know, because there's going to be a lot of outflows from...
So Signature Bank got seized by the FDIC.
Signature Bank got seized by the FDIC. Coinbase has quite a lot of money in Signature Bank, so that's going to be interesting.
But they backstop that too.
Yeah, they backstop that too, so they should be fine. But like, I think that a lot of people, at least the types of people that can control treasuries and large amounts of monies at corporations, are going to look to basically take the safest route, because otherwise they put themselves at personal liability for, whatever happens next. And so I think that you're actually going to see a lot of there's going to be a ton of money moving around tomorrow. And it remains to be seen how that all plays out. But
good point.
We'll see.
Yeah, I think it's going to be obvious if you're at a regional bank. Unfortunately, you're going to take a safer route.
Well, I hope not, because I think it's bad.
It's
I
terrible.
actually think
it's terrible for sure, but we need to get the next layer of confidence from Yellen and Biden and everyone and be like, we're not only good Monday, you're good Monday through Friday.
From what I heard about the SVB thing, like, you're good. You're good. Like, doesn't matter what happens, you're good. So if that's the case, they should reiterate that for every regional bank, because I do think the regional banks are too important for small business.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
These big banks don't do shit for small.
Well, the conspiracy theory is that the really dark part of Twitter is this is just a play to get the large banks back into extreme power. Consolidate all the power across the 4 major banks in America. And just fuck everybody else.
Yeah, I mean that sounds
Occam's
right.
razor, right?
Yeah.
Is that the Occam's?
That feels Occam.
It just felt like the right time to say it. Yeah, I saw that too. Hey, I mean, anything's possible at this point. After, shit is just.
I'm going to end on one thing,
Yeah.
which we didn't cover. There's a Super Bowl tonight. It's a Super Bowl of Ozempic. It's called the Oscars.
Yeah. I mean, what are they going to do to top last year, right?
What happened last year?
Slap.
The big
Oh,
slap.
the slap.
Yeah, slap heard around the world.
No, everyone's skinny now. It doesn't matter.
Everyone feels better because they're skinny.
Yeah, it doesn't just. I mean, everyone's doing it. I saw a picture of now. She's doing it. I'm sorry. I know it's insensitive, but she's doing it.
The
100%.
2 biggest semaglutides are both owned by the same company. They're crushing it.
Novo
Nordisk. Yeah. They own.
Are they publicly traded?
Yeah.
In America?
In America, but they're a Danish company. And they own
Danish are great.
But they're already a multi-$100 billion company, right? So they're going to be a trillion.
They're going to be 10, 15 trillion.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Who's not going to be on Ozempic? Did you see the tweet from Elon? Ozempic bear?
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Well, that's how he lost all his weight.
Yeah,
he was very open about it.
He was on Ozempic.
He
lost weight?
He was one of the first.
I haven't seen a picture.
Do you remember him on the boat?
Yeah, of course. I saw the boat.
Well, so he basically attributed all of his weight loss to Ozempic. And he has been publicly tweeting about it for months.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Ozempic is the topic of conversation with pretty much every
now
dinner.
back to Ozempic now that the financial system is
There's nothing more in life important than Ozempic.
The other thing that I just think, and I guess this is what I'll end on, that is sort of our bubble. We try to realize when we're in the bubble. I think this was a way bigger deal to us and our world than I don't think most of the country knows. I know we've kind of said that a lot, but I don't think, I think for us, we all saw what was possible and how scary it could have been. And we all kind of know what could have happened. But I think most people don't.
I would say 99% of people don't know, but had the depositors not been guaranteed today, they would have known very quickly on Monday morning.
Okay. Yep, totally agree. Okay. All right, let's talk about Oscar nominees.
I don't know anyone, but I got a shout out.
Kidding.
I got one shout out before we end.
Is Top Gun winning?
Shout
out to Jose and Kristen. We actually announced their proposal in group chat, and now they're married on March 16th in Costa Rica.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Good job.
Big marriage.
Good for them.
That's awesome.
Okay. That's all we got?
That's all we got. Congrats, guys.
There it is. Everyone, get a good night's sleep. It looks like disaster has been avoided. But I guess we can't really, we'll know tomorrow night.
An Indian won a music Oscar.
Yeah,
got a picture.
There you go.
Did they win Slumdog too?
Yeah.
Another win for the Indians. All right, everyone. Back to life as
back to
normal.
Ozempic.
Yeah, back to Ozempic. Everyone, we'll see you later. See you on Tuesday.